back to Veteran Made. Like I said in the last video, I'm going to go through the design process for the United States Army Airborne Ranger plaque. So let's head back up to the house and see how it's done.
Okay, so before we can do anything down in the shop, we've got to get this piece designed. And so we're going to jump right into Easel. Easel software is from Inventables. I've been using it for almost 6 years now. There's tons of other softwares out there, but this one works good. It does everything I need it to do, and it's pretty easy to use. So I've got a new project set up in here, and what I did, this is going to be an 11-inch diameter plaque. So we've set this workpiece up to 12 inches by 12 inches and 3/4 of an inch thick, and we're going to use pine. All right, so first things first, we're going to create a circle and just get our basic 11-inch boundary set up here. 11-inch, there we go. And we're just going to say on path, and we're just going to get a little outline to let us know where our boundary is. Okay, so we got some graphical elements we need to take care of first. So we're going to jump out of Easel and we're going to go into Affinity Photo. All right, I use Affinity Photo instead of Adobe Photoshop, which I have used for decades, but I refuse to pay their prices. Affinity Photo is reasonable and it works pretty darn good. It's almost as good as Photoshop. So I'm going to open up the files that I'm looking for this particular project, and I'm going to go down to right here, and I got some graphics set up, and I'm going to open these 4 items in Affinity Photo. Alright, so what we have here is the star circle. These are all PNG files. There's the Ranger tab, the jump wings, and then the main circle. Okay, this is an Affinity native file, and I'm going to go ahead and put in the name we're going to add to the front of the plaque. In this case, it's Captain Hunter Wood, who is an Army Ranger, who was an Army Ranger and also a Army Ranger instructor. So not only was he a badass, he was teaching others how to be a badass as well. So I salute you, Captain Wood. Thank you for your service. All right, so moving right along here. So we've got that set where we need it. We've got this element, jump wings, and SAR. So we'll start back over here, and I'm going to export this out as a PNG file with the transparent background. Affinity will let you export as SVG files, which is what you're going to need to get into your carving software. But I've never had any luck with those SVG files. After numerous attempts, the files just do not work inside of Easel. So in this case, I'm going to export these out as PNG files. Shift Control Alt S and PNG for my, not worried about the size, just going to leave it where it is. And I'm going to drop this over to my downloads folder, and it's Main Circle Army. We can change that to Captain Wood. Same thing here. Shift Control Alt S takes us to export. We're going to do a PNG. Again, SVG files, I'm not having any luck in here. So export PNG. Here's the jump wings. Ranger tab is next. I'm going to export that as well as a PNG into the downloads folder. And here is our star circle. I'm going to export that as well as a PNG file. Alright, so we have all of those exported. Now the next step is we're going to go to an online converter. This one is called Convert.io. There is a free version. You get a few conversions a day where you're kind of limited, or you get the pro version where it's unlimited. It does really good. It does a good job converting the files. So I'm going to go to Choose Files. All right, here they are in my, go to my Downloads folder. There we go. There's all the PNG files. All right, so we hit Open, and we're going to convert all of those to SVG files. And we hit Convert. And now we're ready to download. I'm going to download. Could do it as a zip file. It's just as easy to do it like this. All right, there they are. Now is where we jump back over to Easel. So back in Easel, we're going to start importing those SVG files. So import SVG, and I think the first piece I'll bring in is that main circle. And it's really big, so we're going to scale down to fit, and it's still too big. Look right there. Now what we need to do is we need to combine all these. As you see, there's different pieces in here. So what we want to do is hit Control J, and now that combined it all into one piece. Let's set the depth to 1/4 inch, and we're going to set our shape. I'm going to lock the aspect ratio, and I know I want this about 9.5 inches inside that circle. There we go. That's looking good. All right, so let's get a better representation. We're going to carve pine, but just for now, we're going to change this to a 2-color acrylic just so we can see what the heck we're doing a little bit easier. There we go, a little bit easier to see. We're not going to be carving acrylic. Next thing I'll do, I'm going to import my star circle. So there's my star circle. Scale down to fit. It's gigantic. I'm going to hit Control J. And we can see way out there it is. Lock my aspect ratio. And this is about 7 1/4, something like that. Nope, it's going to be much bigger than that. About that right there. Set my depth to 1/4 inch. All right. Now let's start importing the other elements. All right, let's get the Ranger tab. It's huge. Control J combines all the elements there. And I'm going to hold down Alt on my PC here. And I'm going to drag that corner down and shrink this down to a more manageable size. There we go. It's bigger than I want, but we'll change that in a second. Alrighty, now the next thing is we're going to import the jump wings, and there they are. Bring that in, yeah, it's very big, and we're going to hit Control J. Lock that aspect ratio, and we're going to scale it down. Alright, let's move. I want to lock this so it doesn't move. And this is centered. I want to lock it so it doesn't move. Get these kind of better here. I think I have everything in place how I want it, and this is sort of how it's going to look. I'll give you an idea. And now the next thing we have to do is we have to make these as inlay pieces. These are going to inlay into the main plaque, like you saw in the intro. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new workpiece here, and I'm going to make this, we'll make it 10 inches wide by 5.5 inches. There we go, on the length. And I have my work set to center. I like working off the center of the piece. To me, it's a lot easier to work with. And the same thing over here. If you look at I am working off the center. You can see the 0 points here and here instead of down here in this corner. All right, so I've got these two selected. Let's go ahead and lock everything into place so it doesn't accidentally move. All right. So now I'm going to take this piece and this piece, and they're going to go right in here. Let's center it up just a little better. There we go. And we're going to center that to our material, and we're going to lock it in place. Okay, so now we start making the inlay. Let me zoom out. First thing I'm going to do is we're going to create an offset of this Ranger tab. So we click on our apps, scroll down, you'll see one called offset. Scroll down a little further, you'll see a second type of offset, V2. This one works fine. That's the one I'm going to work with. We're going to set our distance to 0, 0 offset. And we do not want to keep the original. So turn that off and click import. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to hit Control J. And if I go to my Cut tab, instead of cutting on the shape path, we're going to say Clear Out a Pocket. Now I have a perfect silhouette of this. It's the exact same shape as this. This is going to be help us create our pocket. Okay, so now once I have that, I go back into my apps and go to my inlay generator. And I'm going to be using a 1/16 inch bit, 0.0625, and I have found that 0.015 or 15 thousandths is a really good tolerance to work with. Not too tight, not too loose, Goldilocks zone. We'll import that. So what this gives us is the pocket that this piece is going to fit into onto the main piece, and this is going to cut out this piece. All right, now we're going to toss this piece. We don't need it. Move these off to the side just for a minute. Now the wings, jump wings, all right, this area will be cut out. All right, so what we got to do is just like we did a minute ago, we go to our offsetter, boom, set our distance to 0, and turn off keep original, only one iteration, and import. Now, if I hit Control J this time, watch what happens. Yep, it creates a perfect outline on that shape, but I'm missing this area here. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this over here to the side. Let's zoom in. What I'm going to try to do is grab these two pieces right here. So I'm going to deselect, click off of it, click right here, there's one, and it's right in here. There's the other one. Go to my Cut tab, I'm going to say Clear Out a Pocket, and set my depth to 0. Now it's taking shape. I'm going to go back in and reselect. Better zoom out, make sure I have everything here. I'm going to go back and reselect everything. And now I hit Control J, and look what we get. There is our silhouette of this shape that's going to form our pocket. I'm going to scoot this over here, go back into our apps, and from there, I'm going to create the inlay. So once again, the bit size is 1/16 of an inch or 0.0625, and we're using 15 thousandths as our tolerance. There we go. There's the pocket, there's the cutout. We import those in. Hot diggity damn, there we go. So we delete that. All right, let's get back to what we're doing, the job at hand here. So I'm going to duplicate this file right here. We're going to start setting up the pockets. All right, duplicate that. There we go. Okay, so there's our duplicate. I'm just going to move that workpiece right over. You just click and drag your workpiece. All right, so everything on this is locked in place. I'm going to set the depth to 0. Because the only thing I want to carve is this and this. So I'm going to select those two pieces, copy those, and I'm going right in here. I'm going to paste those. All right, so since these are locked in place, what I'm going to do is select that one, hold down Shift, select that one, and on my alignment toolbar, I'm going to align the center, and I'm going to align it this way. So now it's perfectly aligned with that Ranger tab. This is where our pocket's going to go. Going to do the same thing with this one. Select it, Shift select, align them vertically and horizontally. And what we're going to do now is set the depth of these to about 1/8 of an inch. And this one too. All right, so now we have our pocket cut out. We're ready to carve that out. We're not going to use a 90. We'll come back and fix that in a second. Okay, back over here. So these two pieces are now in play. I don't need them. I do need these. There we go. Okay, so before I get too much further here, let's make a duplicate of this. All right, so on the original, I can delete this one and this one. On this one, we're going to do the same thing we did a minute ago. We're going to set those to 0. So the only thing we want to carve is this. I'm going to select these two, I'm going to align them, and then I'm going to select these two. I'm going to align those as well. And now I select these. And what this is going to do, I'm only going to cut this about 1/8 of an inch deep. This is just going to give a nice beveled edge after I cut everything else. Okay, so we cut this part first. And then we come back in with the same exact settings, and then we're going to cut this part. All right, one more duplication. That's going to give us our cutout. So we duplicate that again. And this time, what we're going to do is we're going to set that bit to 1/16 of an inch, and we're going to say we are going to cut these pieces all the way through. I do not want to use tabs, and I want it to cut a little bit extra deep, little more than the thickness of the piece of wood. All right, so we have everything in place. This is our main plaque. When we start carving, this, and this, I will set to 0. So the only thing on the round piece we'll carve is this. We'll leave it in there, and then we're going to carve the pocket out. Carve this, and moving on. So let's get our cut setting. So I am going to use a 90-degree bit. The wood is going to be about 3/4 of an inch thick. When we go to our cut settings, actually this looks pretty good. 90 inches a minute, 15 on the plunge rate, and 1/4 inch depth per pass. I'm good with that. Vertical ramp's fine, offset method. This one will have to change up a little bit, so I wanted to start off with a 1/4 inch bit, finish off the 1/16 inch of a bit. And we want those, definitely don't want 90 inches a minute. About 30 inches a minute on that, and about 30 inches a minute on that, and I only want to go about 1/16 per pass. So, oops, get 2 decimals in there. There we go, 1/16 of an inch per pass. Those numbers look good. All right, for this one, it's strictly going to be a 90-degree. I'm not going to use automatic settings. We're going to set this to about, I think 60 would be a good rate for that. And I'm going to go ahead and set that to 0.125 depth per pass. And that should work pretty good. Moving on to the trim line. Cut settings. Now I'm going to slow that down a little bit, about 30. And 1. Okay, 0.125. Okay, there we go. And one last setting is this guy here, 125, 30. There we go. Now, this is ready to carve, and I think what we'll do is go now to the shop and get things set up to carve the inlays first, and then we'll come back and do the main plaque. We'll see you down in the shop.